Have you ever felt like you were giving everything in a relationship, only to realize the person you trusted most was living a double life? This is the story of Mark, a man who learned that sometimes the quietest people have the loudest strength. Mark and Sarah had what everyone called the perfect marriage. They lived in a beautiful suburban house, had two wonderful kids, and hosted the best neighborhood barbecues. Mark was a software engineer, a quiet, thoughtful man who preferred coding to big crowds. Sarah, on the other hand, was a vibrant, outgoing sales executive who thrived on social energy. They were opposites, but for years it seemed to work. Mark was the steady anchor, and Sarah was the adventurous sail. He provided stability. She brought excitement. He cherished their quiet evenings, while she lived for weekend trips and fancy dinners with clients. He thought their differences were what made them strong. He was wrong. The first crack appeared subtly. It started with late nights at the office that became more frequent. "Big project, honey," Sarah would say, breezing in long after the kids were asleep. Then came the business trips, sometimes scheduled at the last minute. Mark, ever the supportive husband, would juggle his work-from-home schedule to manage the kids, the house, and everything in between. He'd pack their lunches, help with homework, and tuck them into bed, all while trying to meet his own deadlines. He was tired, but he told himself it was just a phase. Sarah was ambitious, and he was proud of her success. He'd send her texts saying, "We miss you, go get 'em," and receive a simple "thanks" hours later. One evening, while sorting laundry, Mark found a receipt in the pocket of Sarah's jeans. It was from a fancy restaurant in the city, dated the previous Tuesday, a night she was supposedly working late. The receipt was for two, with two expensive entrees and a bottle of wine. Mark's heart began to pound. It could be a client dinner, he reasoned, but something felt off. He remembered that night clearly. She had come home exhausted, complaining about a boring meeting that ran late. She had said she just grabbed a sandwich at her desk. That little piece of paper planted a seed of doubt that started to grow, twisting its roots around his heart. He began to notice other things. The way Sarah guarded her phone, angling it away from him whenever it buzzed. The vague answers she gave about her day. The new, expensive perfume she wore, a scent he'd never smelled before. Mark felt a cold dread creeping in. He wanted to confront her, to scream and demand answers, but that wasn't his way. He was a man of logic and evidence. An accusation without proof would just lead to a fight, denial, and more lies. He decided to wait, to observe, to understand the full picture before he acted. He started paying closer attention, not like a spy, but like a scientist studying a painful anomaly. His silent investigation didn't take long. He used a shared family tablet to look up a phone number for a plumber and saw Sarah's recent search history. There were searches for romantic weekend getaways for two, and reservations for a boutique hotel upstate, a place she had never mentioned. The reservation wasn't for a business trip. It was for the upcoming weekend. The final crushing blow came from their shared phone plan. He saw hundreds of texts and long calls exchanged with one number, a number that belonged to her new boss, Alex. The man she had described as a demanding but brilliant mentor. The pain was immense, a physical ache in his chest. The woman he loved, the mother of his children, was betraying him. Every "I love you" she had ever said now felt like a lie. The foundation of his world had crumbled. For a few days, Mark walked around in a fog of grief. He wanted to shatter things, to yell, but every time he looked at his kids' innocent faces, he knew he couldn't. He had to be their rock, even as his own world was being swept away by a tidal wave of betrayal. He realized that true strength wasn't about loud confrontations. It was about quiet resilience. It was about protecting his children and securing their future, and his own. Instead of exploding, Mark did what he did best. He made a plan. He quietly contacted a top-rated divorce lawyer and had a consultation. He gathered evidence, the receipts, the hotel confirmations, the phone records. He meticulously documented every time he had to leave work early to pick up the kids because Sarah was stuck in a meeting. He opened a new bank account and started moving a portion of his salary into it. He wasn't being vengeful. He was being strategic. He was preparing for the storm he knew was coming. He acted completely normal around Sarah. He still asked about her day, listened to her fabricated stories, and even kissed her goodbye in the mornings. It was the hardest thing he had ever done, acting a part in his own tragedy. Each smile felt like a betrayal of his own heart, but he knew it was necessary. The weekend of the getaway arrived. Sarah packed a small, stylish bag. "Big sales conference upstate, honey," she said, giving him a quick, dismissive kiss. "I'll be back Sunday night." Mark just nodded, a calm expression on his face. "Okay, drive safe. The kids and I will have a fun weekend." As she pulled out of the driveway, a wave of relief washed over him. The charade was almost over. That weekend, Mark didn't wallow. He took the kids to the zoo, they built a massive Lego castle, and they had a movie marathon with popcorn and pizza. For the first time in months, he felt a sense of peace. He was creating a new, stable world for his children, one built on honesty and love. On Sunday evening, Sarah walked in, glowing. "It was so exhausting, but so productive," she sighed, dropping her bag. Mark was sitting on the sofa, the living room dimly lit. "Sarah," he said, his voice calm and steady. "We need to talk." She looked at him, her smile faltering. "What's wrong? You sound so serious." On the coffee table in front of him was a single manila folder. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He simply pushed the folder towards her. "I think this will explain everything." Sarah opened it. Inside were copies of the restaurant receipt, the hotel booking in her name and Alex's, and the phone records. Her face went pale. All the color drained from her cheeks, and her confident demeanor crumbled. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with panic. "Mark, I can explain." But Mark held up a hand. "There's nothing to explain, Sarah. There's only what we do now." He spoke with a quiet authority she had never heard before. "I've spoken to a lawyer. I have documented everything. I'm filing for divorce. I will be seeking full custody of the children, given your recent priorities." Sarah began to cry, the tears of someone who had been caught, not of someone who was sorry. "No, Mark, please. It was a mistake. A stupid mistake. I love you, I love our family." He looked at her, not with hatred, but with a profound sense of disappointment. "You didn't love our family when you were booking that hotel. You didn't love me when you were lying to my face every single day. Love is an action, Sarah. It's about respect and honesty. You've shown neither." He continued, his voice unwavering. "I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this to protect my children from a home built on lies. They deserve a parent they can trust. They deserve stability. That's what I'm going to give them." In that moment, Sarah saw the real Mark. Not the quiet, agreeable husband she took for granted, but a man of immense, unshakable strength. A man who had endured betrayal with grace, and who had a clear, strategic plan to protect what mattered most. His power wasn't in shouting or anger. It was in his calm, his resolve, his quiet dignity. He had waited until the right moment, not for revenge, but for justice and a peaceful future for his kids. He showed her that true strength isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being the one who, when everything falls apart, quietly starts building again on a stronger foundation. Mark's story reminds us that strength comes in many forms. It's the quiet resolve to do what's right, even when it's the hardest thing in the world. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more content that explores the depths of human resilience. See you next time.